So, welcome to Critical Appreciation. This section doesn't have specifically prescribed books or recommended strategies. In a way, that's good because you get a lot of freedom. But freedom also means responsibility. Anyway, we will discuss such nuances later. For the time being, let's try to form a basic idea of what critical appreciation is. How do we go about the business? In what ways can we meet examination requirements and so on? The term critical appreciation has two constituent words. That's very clear, isn't it? One is critical and the other one is appreciation. So we have to be critical and appreciative at the same time. Is it logical and possible to be critical and appreciative simultaneously? Some people say no. In their view, critical appreciation is an oxymoron, a pair of incompatible and contradictory words. Like bittersweet and dark light. Let's take the second word first, appreciation. What does it mean? We generally understand appreciation as a process of enjoyment. So appreciation is the pleasure that you get when you recognize and enjoy the good qualities of someone or something. This is from Oxford English Dictionary. But the term has some other meanings too. It is what you call a semantically loaded term. This is from Encarta Dictionary. You can see 4 different definitions here. Let me read them out. 1. To feel gratitude. 2. To value somebody or something highly. 3. To understand something. And 4. To gain in value. I feel in American English the word appreciate is quite frequently used to mean to understand. So when someone says I appreciate your difficulties, he or she is not enjoying my difficulties but is trying to understand me and trying to be helpful. But being critical is completely different. In popular imagination, a critic is what you call a fault finder. He is someone waiting for a chance to pounce on the features which he believes to be poor and faulty and inferior in a work of literature, movie, painting, play, sculpture, or whatever. Generally, a critic is portrayed as a parasite, someone who can produce anything on his own but merely destructs the creative works of others. It's true, there were, are, and still and will be such critics. But academic criticism has recently evolved into a creative process. We are not going to find anybody's faults or to roast them. We will discuss the traits of contemporary critical practices after some time. For the time being, let us say, generally speaking, criticism involves interrogating and suspecting accepted beliefs and customs. A critic analyzes complex phenomena by breaking them into pieces. He deconstructs existing understandings through rereadings. Can we critically appreciate or enjoy something? In order to answer this question, we have to differentiate between 2 modes of reading: reading literature and studying literature. So how do we separate reading of literature from its study? Of course, they are not unconnected activities. If you want to study something, you have to read it first. But the reverse is not true. You can read something without having to study it. As students of literature, I hope you have the habit of reading, but I am sure you study literature as a requirement of the program. It doesn't appear to be a wonderful and soothing and comfortable experience because studying literature can destroy the element of pleasure in it. But it has got certain advantages. In studying literature, we are seriously and theoretically engaging with a discourse in our society. And eventually, we understand ourselves better. We understand our own unconscious motives and incentives better. We understand how do we collectively think and act. We understand the mechanisms and modalities that govern our quotidian experiences. By studying literature, by critically reading literature, we are looking at works technically called a corpus in terms of well-defined conceptual categories like gender, ethnicity, caste, class, culture, worldview, and mind. You can have any number of such categories. The list is virtually endless. Depending on the categories you choose, your ideological moorings and other tools, the same work produces conflicting and at times contradictory meanings. So this is what we are going to do in critical appreciation. It's a serious kind of reading. It is reading with a purpose, and more important, we are aware of the frameworks within which we read. In a casual reading, this element of self-awareness is missing, at least most of the time. Don't think that categories are something we are bringing into this exercise. No, that's wrong. Categories have always been there. For example, if you refer to all the critical works, you are not likely to come across categories such as caste or ethnicity. Instead, you are almost sure to see categories like images, assonance, alliteration, and other figures of speech. I am not saying that they are bad or insufficient. Every category is valid because it has a potential to show the work in a new, different light. Still, given the fact that we are living in a turbulent world and are speaking about interdisciplinary sensibility all the time, it's more advisable to use new categories. So we have understood or tried to understand a handful of basic concepts. I hope they were not too difficult. Even if they were difficult, it's worth your while to crack them because concepts are important in analyzing and making sense of phenomena, including literature. Okay, now we will have to make another differentiation. The differentiation between work and text. We often use them interchangeably as if they were one and the same. Yes, as far as a common reader is concerned, the subtle difference between work and text doesn't matter. But we aren't common readers but students of literature, aren't we? So it is always best to get the fundamentals right. The difference between work and text is an idea borrowed from Roland Barthes. Roland Barthes was a French thinker. He was a cultural critic, a man who significantly contributed to narratology and was a semiologist. A semiologist is an expert in semiotics, and semiotics is a study of science. Don't think that it's a simple and trivial subject. No, it's not. Actually, semiotics has a unique centrality in contemporary cultural practices. Okay, leave it there. If you want further inputs into semiotics, please send me a personal email or text me using your phone. Barthes has written a number of books which have considerably influenced the study of literature. But if you ask me to suggest an introduction to Barthes, this is my pick: Mythologies. Mythologies is a collection of essays. No essay is longer than 3 pages. They are simple, informative, and interesting. He takes day-to-day familiar experiences and then theorizes them. Of course, all the cases are French or European in origin. Still, they help us form an idea of how to do cultural criticism. Barthes differentiates between work and art. Actually, it's an easy differentiation. Work is physical and concrete. You can see it, touch it, weigh it, pass it around, and display in a shelf if you want. But the case of a text is different. A text is our creation. I mean, the reader's creation. So what happens? The same work produces or can produce completely different texts, perhaps completely different experiences. Actually, we briefly mentioned this a few slides ago. I hope you remember that. Depending on your conceptual categories and experiences, the same text produces completely different meanings. By the way, reading is a complex, baffling phenomenon. These days, we have a good number of studies on reading. They are not carried out by linguists, but by neurologists and doctors. Let me suggest 2 works by the same author. You can see them here. They are easy to read and are interconnected. They will surely help you conceptualize language as a function of the brain as an organic process. In case if you want to know more, here is the best. I don't think it's easy or interesting, but it is comprehensive and updated. It's more like a reference book. Alright, let's get back to the business of critical appreciation. I want you to read the famous poem Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening, written by the equally famous American poet Robert Frost. I chose this poem because of some simple reasons. One is I like it. Secondly, it has had a number of translations in Malayalam. What you see here is a translation by the Malayalam poet Kadamanittu Ramakrishnan. To the best of my knowledge, he translated only the last stanza. Mahavanam manoharam irundagathamengilum അനേകമുണ്ടു കാത്തിടേണ്ട മാമകപ്രതിജ്ഞകൾ അനക്കമറ്റു നിദ്രയില്ല ഇപ്പതിന്നു മുൻപിലായി എനിക്കതീവ ദൂരമുണ്ട വിശ്രമം നടക്കുവാൻ. I think it is in the meter Panchachamaram. Not sure about that. This is a link to some other translations. Try to read them and see how one work has produced many translations. And this is a translation by S. Joseph, who is a teacher of Malayalam at Maharajas College. It was published in 2018. Read it. You can discuss with him his experiences in translating it. The original English work is available online. Download and read it. As a part of our exercise, I request you to read the poem using two categories. One is the images in the poem. The other is the presence of binary opposites. Take the first two lines. The poem begins with a question. Whose woods these are? But it is quickly answered. Whose woods these are? I think I know. So the same line contains the question and its answer. So we have the pair question/answer. Now the narrator is standing close to the forest, but its owner is somewhere else. Thus we have got another pair. What is it? Here/there. In this fashion, read the whole poem and please send your work in MS Word format to my personal email ID.